Right now, your heart hurts. You're feeling heavy. Sleep doesn't do it anymore. You just feel depressed. You wake up, you have no energy. You go to work, you fake it. You fake the entire day because you're hoping that when you finish work, it's going to be better. And then it's not. And then you go home, maybe you play video games, maybe you try to talk with somebody, and you feel like you want to say something to try and get it off your chest, but you're too scared, and you shut back down. And maybe this has been your system and cycle for months. I've been there. Let me give you a little advice about how I got out of it. So getting to zero. In this one, we're talking about your soul. Okay, your soul can be defined as your mind, your will, and emotions. I mean, this goes back very, very long time. You can look at Chinese medicine talks a lot about this. Buddhist medicine talks about this. Jewish tradition, they talk about this. I morally go off the Christian faith. That's kind of my jam. And so we were always defined as your mind, your will, and your emotions. I mean, why is that important? I mean, I woke up this morning and life sucked. How is that going to fix anything? Well, have you ever thought that maybe that you're broken? Like, you woke up and everything has compounded to this point and it's stopping you from functioning. Why is it when a song comes on the radio from like Taylor Swift and she's like, my heart's been broken, and we sing and we will like white girl pride, I'll like freaking sing that stuff and get it out of my system because it's awesome. I'm like, this is my jam. And then I'll go listen to death metal. Why is it that we all relate to brokenheartedness? Why is it like the story of a girl who gets cheated on and there's like, I'm better, overcoming it and takes out? Why is that relatable? It's because we all deal with a broken heart, but it's never as clear and simple as we think, right? Our heart gets broken a little bit every day because of how we look at the world. I'll give you an example. So when I was growing up, I had 3 older brothers, incredible guys. Like I adore them all. They were dating a lot, okay? And I grew up in a Christian household, and so it was date to marriage, date to marriage, date to marriage. And whether you can relate with that or not, doesn't matter. The whole concept of dating is eventually to marry the person. I mean, that's kind of the point. So they were dating. And I convinced myself, very young age, I do not want to just date people. If I do it, I want to have a relationship that lasts. Like I'm going to find the one, and I'm going to find the one right off the get. And I'm going to commit. And you know, or maybe you don't, but that mindset means that's going to be the case. What you believe and what you perceive, that's going to be it. So you've decided this is where it's at, and this is kind of what I want. So I'm 16 years old, and I'm just this nerdy kid in high school, doing academics, doing sports, really not noticeable. And this girl comes and talks with me. Now, this girl just came to the school. Everybody else knows I'm a weird nerd. And she's like, hey, I'm all, what's up? Well, we ended up dating. Freaked my parents out. They're like, no dating until a certain age, whatever. I don't care. We dated. And in my mind, I went, I'm going to marry this girl because I don't want to be like my brothers. I made myself a promise at a young age that I didn't understand I didn't understand what I was saying. It was young and dumb. I didn't understand the thought process behind it. And I convinced myself that that was going to be the case. And I was like, this is how it's going to be. She treated me like garbage, but I treated her like garbage. It was a mutual bad relationship. Didn't even know. My friends didn't tell me. Nobody kind of said anything. But then I noticed that nobody was hanging out with us. Nobody was spending time with us. There were no groups that wanted to be around us in high school. We were kind of that weird couple off to the side that was making out and nobody wanted to be around them. But it wasn't because they were making out. It was because they were kind of garbage people. Yeah, I literally was that. And one day, like a guy I've never met before looks at me and goes, bro, you need to get out of that relationship. I was like, what? He goes, look, you don't know me from Adam. You don't have no clue who I am, but that relationship is bad. You need to get out. And it resonated. And I went, what are you talking about? Get out of this relationship. I don't know what you mean. Like, it's perfect. I'm going to marry her. I was so convinced that it was perfect. And I was so convinced that this person was going to be the one because of my faith, because of my experiences with my brothers, is that this is the way it has to be. And it wasn't. And it ate at me, the thought that I could even get out of it, the thought that this relationship could even be over. And I went to her and this was this is garbage. Her birthday was right by Christmas. And if I would have broken up with her when this guy was like, hey, you should probably break up with her. This was like June, he said this to me. I waited till December 1st. Her birthday was the 13th. And I already had her a Christmas gift. I literally broke up with her 2 weeks before her birthday. I know, I'm a garbage person. It is one of those I look back and I'm like, oh, I could have done better. That was rough. Broke up with her and broke her heart. My heart was broken and she hated me. Rightfully so. Break up with someone that close to their birthday is rightfully so. And I then paradigm shift and went, everything I thought I needed to marry this person, this was going to be it. And that had to be questioned and shifted. And I had to realize that that thought that I had was not true. And I had to live an experience until that's not true. So some of you may be like, well, that doesn't relate to me. Well, if you're sitting in alone and you think it's the rest of my life, I'm supposed to be alone and nobody could ever love me, that's just as bad of a lie. That's a brokenheartedness on an opposite side. You can literally pull out your phone and be rejected by 500 women within seconds if you're a guy. And if you're a woman, you'd be rejected by 50 guys. Sorry, I think I'm funny sometimes. But the truth is our interactions with people happen so fast and happen so quick. We don't take time to process what we're dealing with. We don't even think, maybe I have a broken heart. Well, I don't know. Have you been rejected by a plethora of women? Are you addicted to pornography because that's the only type of relationship that you can get because you're so brokenhearted? The thought of talking with somebody else freaks you out and shuts you down because you hurt. That's our experience. That's your soul. Your soul is literally crying out because of a broken heart, and it just doesn't know how to process. And if you're in that position, what I ended up doing in that position was looking at myself and questioning, what is true? What is true to me? What do I actually believe? Do I actually want a relationship? Do I actually want to get married? Do I want to stay single? Am I okay being single? Am I okay? This is what I was taught, and this is how I was raised, but is that what I want? And everybody's going through those questions. But the problem that I see that continues the brokenheartedness and the reason a lot of us feel spiral and we can't get out is because we also don't see the world getting any better. Turn on your news or turn it off. Run away. Run far, far away. But if you haven't and you've kept up with the news, dollar doesn't mean what it used to mean. Rent's going up. Joblessness is going high. All of these things. And you look at those things and now you own those things and you go, this is my failure. This is my purpose. I guess there is no future. So now you're brokenhearted from your own potential. You've broken your own heart because now you see the world as this awful thing that's done. It's over. Relationships don't go anywhere. Why? Because you don't have purpose. You don't even want to hang out with the old friends that you had because they remind you of an old life that you've experienced before. Or maybe that's just me. And all of a sudden, you are on an island and you're by yourself. And you're scrolling through YouTube watching these videos. Like and subscribe. But you don't have anybody else. That's real. That's life. That's what we experience. My parents left San Francisco in the 80s because they thought the world was going to end. Yeah. They believed that the whole world was going to end. And, you know, it's almost every couple years we get another person go, I heard that it's over. We're all going to die. But that's not the truth. It's really not. We don't know what tomorrow looks like. We have no clue. And so you take the brokenheartedness of the world around us and you take the brokenheartedness of experience and you put them together and all of a sudden you look at yourself and you go, why am I even here? What matters? This sucks. And you have to start processing and owning stuff. The world is as good as you make it. That's the truth. This is where I believe in faith. Faith helps me pull myself out of this. And if you don't have that, it's fine. There's a lot of awesome moral books. Like there's consciousness books. There's a lot of cool stuff. But what you need to do is get another perspective. Because if it's just your perspective, you're going to stay in an echo chamber and you're going to destroy yourself. And every day is going to feel like an echo chamber. And guess what? An echo chamber could mean a Reddit forum. An echo chamber could mean playing video games online with the same guys or girls. And all of a sudden your life they're repeating back to you the toxicity that you're feeling in your life. And so by us looking at our heart going, why am I broken? What do I want? You're being true to yourself. You're not letting your brokenheartedness become you anymore. You're able to look at it and go, I think I want a family. But what does that look like for me? Am I able to have a family? Am I able to do these things? And ask yourself those questions. You need to ask those questions. Don't live in an echo chamber. Don't think that it's over. And I have seen plenty of people that they don't know what they're going to do. They're unemployed. Their life is falling apart. They find somebody that they like. They start processing their emotions or talking with people. There's accountability and they build relationships. And then all of a sudden, it's great. They get married. They didn't have a job. And all of a sudden, work shows up from random friends and family or somebody related to each other's side. And everything works itself out. And from my experiences, things will work themselves out. Will it work out the way you want it? Probably not. Will it work out the way that you are dreaming of? Unless you put a lot of work into it, that's not the case. But if you're so brokenhearted that you can't see the blessing or the benefit around you, is that really a way to live life? I mean, that's why we escape, right? That's why I love Star Wars. It's amazing. And I love watching it. But if I care more about the theory of Han shot first, which he did, if I care more about that theory than I do about my own brokenheartedness and I haven't processed that, or I care more about that theory than how the world is functioning, I'm doing myself a disservice. Because now I'm allowing myself to live in this fantasy world because it's much easier than dealing with my brokenheartedness. And dealing with it looks very simple. You look down into your heart and you forgive yourself of what you've done. I had to look in my heart and realize that I failed that girl. I failed her pretty bad. And then I failed myself because I told myself, I had this exposition. This is how it's going to be. This is what I'm going to experience. And I didn't. And I failed. I failed myself and I failed her. And I had to forgive myself. And I reached out to her and I told her I was sorry that I led her on. Because, I mean, the whole conversation was like, we're going to get married one day. This is going to be amazing. We had that conversation on a regular. And I lied to her and I lied to myself and I had to own it. I owned it and looked her straight in the eye and told her that. She respected me after that. And I respected myself after that as well. And it allowed me to open myself up to love and to be loved by other people because I was now being honest with myself of what's going on. Is the future perfect? No. But the future that you have is perfect for you. And that looks at having to ask questions. Money won't always be there. But is money what makes happiness? Right? The relationships aren't going to go the way you want. But why do you need them to go that way? These are all real questions we have to ask ourselves. And when you realize that your brokenheartedness is actually your filter on how you see everything, once that gets healed and now you're able to look at the world in a way that it's almost like you're dating, you're kind of able to look at the world and be like, yeah, I know she's not perfect, but you know, she's trying. She's really trying to get her life back together. She's really trying to do stuff. Things could be better. Looks like next year things are going to be better. It looks like next month I'm going to keep on putting job applications out there. I'm going to go hang out with some friends. I'm going to go do some stuff. I'm going to figure things out. I'm going to go for a walk in the park. That only can happen from an excess of your heart. And if you're so brokenhearted that you can't get out of that, that's the case. So if you're watching this, you're like, hey, how do I do it? Take a moment. Look at yourself. Look deep inside. Turn off whatever you've got after this and just start to ask yourself the hard questions. Why am I not happy? What have I done? How have I let myself down? How did I get to this point? And a lot of people, it starts to spiral. It starts to open up these questions. It starts to open these things. Don't allow it to. Take some deep breaths, relax, and take it one question at a time. Because as soon as you unplug the cork and you start allowing yourself to ask questions, every question starts coming out at the same time and it's overwhelming. Don't let yourself do that. Take a breath, relax, look at it, analyze it, and be honest with yourself. This is a moment you get to have a conversation with yourself. Now, if you're a Christian, awesome. Bring God into the picture. Let him kind of sit you in that situation and kind of balance you out. If you're not, that doesn't mean you can't sit there and have an honest conversation with yourself and figure it out. I like having these conversations in nature. It's my preferred. When I'm out in nature, I feel good. I feel great. I feel more balanced. And that's what I do. So hopefully You know, that's the soul. That's the brokenheartedness. I'm going to hit you up again next week. We're going to talk more about the mind. We're going to hit into more of the deep recesses. If you thought I hit it here, we're going to go a little bit deeper. So if you've been struggling with suicidal thoughts and different things, we're going to hit on that. So keep up, keep tuned. See you on the next one.